Justin Vacula here with the Hurdy Gurdy Travel Podcast. Today on FanDuel Pennsylvania. FanDuel available in many sites. Pennsylvania is one of them where we can play online blackjack. The idea here is we're going to be loading FanDuel gift cards that we purchased with credit. I can purchase FanDuel gift cards at many grocery stores, Lowe's, other locations that accept credit cards, sometimes getting discounts on these cards or rebates in the form of fuel points for gas or grocery rewards. So we're going to upload gift cards on FanDuel, play through the funds one time in Blackjack, and withdraw money. See here on the right-hand side of the screen, Blackjack Apprenticeship is giving us a strategy card here for how to play optimal Blackjack. And with good rules, when we have the good rules in Pennsylvania, the house has about a 0.5% advantage. So even though we're giving up a 0.5% on the face of it, I can use many cards at grocery stores like the Amex Gold card, getting 4x membership rewards points. I'm getting 4x on the acquisition. I'm giving up a 0.5%. I'm still doing really well here. I have many other cards too, like the Altitude Reserve card that's giving 4.5% back. So many credit cards stacking with promotions will give us an edge in Blackjack as long as we're playing well, we're sticking to the strategy, and we're playing through funds once. Here we have the multi-hand Blackjack surrender game. I'll move this off the screen a little bit. You could see that there are various games on here, various live dealer, blackjack, other forms of blackjack throughout the website. But we're going to look at just this multi-hand blackjack surrender as this has the best rules and it's fast. The live dealer games can tend to be slow. If you look here on the promotions tab, we can move over and find that. We have various bonuses sometimes on deposit and play that will give us a further edge. You can see here as it loads, I believe we have something like a $10 bonus today. Yes, today get a $10 casino bonus when you bet 200 or more on casino games. I loaded a $250 gift card. We have $250 in the account. And once we get over that 200 mark, it's going to give us bonus money of $10. You can see the playable balance here. It says deposits $250, bonuses. On FanDuel, we have to play through the bonus once before withdrawing. It's nice. It breaks it up. It shows us that. FanDuel is really nice. It's transparent. It's very easy to use the software. It's one of my favorite sites to use, especially when we're getting bonuses. And every day we have this thing called the reward machine, at least as recording 11/22/24. We get 3 free spins a day. Sometimes it gives us bonus cash or free spins on slot machines. I haven't gotten too much off of this, maybe $2 or $3 on a spin or 2 spins on slot games. So let's get back to it. Pull the game in. This is multi-hand blackjack surrender. These are the rules that we want. This is the game that we want. You want to look for this game on all the other sites as well. And in Pennsylvania, most of the sites have this except for maybe PokerStars. We can go to the options in the bottom right. We have speed on, sound off, safety net on. Safety net is if we're going to misclick, like if we had something like a 20 versus a dealer 6 and we accidentally hit, it's going to say, are you sure you want to do that? And insurance off. Insurance is a sucker side bet in most cases. We're just going to turn that off. You can customize the felt color here as well, but these options aren't default, so you need to do that. As I mentioned, we deposited $250. I'm going to play $5 hands for the purpose of this video. It's going to take a little bit to get through the hands, but I want to show you examples of hands and how this game works. The click counter over here, I have it at 50. So we could do 250 divided by 5, 450. So we're going to keep track of our play as FanDuel, unfortunately, for the most part, doesn't. Occasionally, sites will pop up every 15 minutes. You've wagered X in the last 15 minutes. But FanDuel, I don't believe, does that or doesn't do it very often. We have Blackjack paying 3-2. Dealer must stand on 17 and must draw on 16. So these are good rules for us. And we have the surrender option. As you see, the game is multi-hand Blackjack surrender. So let's get into it, get some examples of hands. We're going to get 2 cards. The dealer gets 1 card, and we're making decisions based on these charts. So we have a 16. The dealer has a 10. We could look over to what's called the hard totals. So this is if we don't have an ace in our hand, we just have 2 other cards. 16 versus 10. It says to hit here, but we also have the option for surrender. We're going to be surrendering in cases 16 versus dealer 9, 10, and ace, 15 versus dealer 10. So the surrender chart supersedes the hard totals chart. So 16 versus 10. We pick the surrender option. It just gives us half our bet back and we just forfeit the hand. That's fine. They figured out the math on this and what are the optimal decisions. So it's better to surrender than it is to hit or stand on 16 when the dealer has the 9, 10, or ace. So I missed a click counter there, but maybe not really. I try to do the click counter right when it deals. I usually use my phone to keep track because I don't have to click the screen. I can just tap while I'm clicking the screen. But for purposes of this video, we'll use the click counter on screen. This is our first hand. Go to the next hand. We'll move the click counter down 1. And it's the same thing, 16 versus 10. So again, that's a surrender. Not off to a great start here. 18 versus 4. So we go to the hard totals. We see that if we have a 17 or higher on the hard totals, no matter what the dealer has, we're going to stand. So an 18 versus 4 is a stand. And we'll see the dealer here is a 23. So the dealer busts and we win this hand. I'm not so much concerned about what happens up here. Of course, I like winning. That's a good thing. We want the dealer to bust. But in the long run, again, we're going to have that 0.5%. So in the short term, it is gambling. We might be up, we might be down, whatever the case might be. But again, we're playing this money through one time, and we're expected to have this house edge of 0.5% in the long run. And then we're getting the bonuses from FanDuel. We're getting the credit card rewards and much more. So we have 5 versus 10. That's going to be a hit. We see these low hands. We're never going to stand on a 5. We can't bust if we hit on a 5. So now we have 10 versus 10. That's another hit. We can look at the hard totals. 10 versus dealer 10 is a hit. 16 versus 10. So normally we would surrender here, but it's grayed out. We can only surrender on the first 2 cards. So if we can't surrender, 16 versus dealer 10 is a hit. And we bust. We're on to the next hand, another click counter. 17 again, hard 17 stands. Okay, next hand. All right, some of the buttons are a little bit grayed out here. I'll try to move this up for you so you can see the bottom of the screen. It's a little bit covered by the Descript is sharing your screen. That's the site that I'm using here to record. All right, so the dealer got a 21, so we lose that hand. Click counter 1, 15 versus 2. So we could look at the hard totals. 15 versus 2 is a stand. You'll see there are some patterns to this. And as you practice basic strategy off table, not wagering money, you could use various training apps. You'll learn these patterns. 12 versus 10. Look at the hard totals. 12 versus 10 is a hit. 21. So once we have 21, the hand just ends. Another click counter, another hand. So we have 11 versus 9. 11 always doubles. So no matter what the dealer has, we're doubling. So doubling means we put up an additional unit. So we move the click counter and we just get 1 card and only 1 card. All right. Ace 7 versus 8. So finally we have a soft total. So when we have an ace and another card in our hand on the first 2, we look at the soft totals. So we have ace 7 versus the dealer 8. And we see that this is a stand. Ace 7, probably the trickiest hand to play. We might get some other hands where we have an ace and lower cards. So if we have something like ace 4 and then we hit on ace 4 and have a 3, that would be counted as ace 7. And you see the chart will say here double if allowed, otherwise stand. So if we have a 3 card or more hand, then we have to follow that guidance. But to get back to the original hand, ace 7 versus 8 is a stand. Next hand, another counter. 20, so it's hard 17 and above, just stand. Next hand, ace 4 versus 6. Look at the chart. Ace 4 versus 6 is a double. And again, we can only double on the first 2 cards. So it's an additional wager. We move the click counter 1. We just get 1 card and 1 card only. Next hand, we have 12 versus 8. Look at the hard totals. 12 versus 8 is a hit. You can have this strategy card right on your screen on a different monitor, wherever you'd like to have it. 13 versus 8. So now we have an ace. The ace can count as 1 or 11. So we have 10, 12, 13, and this little thing here will show us we have 13, so we don't need to always do the math. We have 13 versus 8, so we just go back to the hard totals in this case. 13 versus 8 is a hit. 15 versus 8, also a hit. And we bust. Next hand, next click counter, 16 versus ace. Normally that would be a surrender, but the dealer has blackjack, so we just lose. On to the next hand. 14 versus 3. Go back to the hard totals. 14 versus 3 is a stand. Next hand. Okay, so we have blackjack, so we just win this hand, and we're on to the next. 10 versus 2, or deuce. So we look at the 10. 10 versus the dealer low card, 2 through 9 is doubling. 10 versus 2, double. One card only, and another wager on the click counter. Okay, 9 versus 10. Look at the hard totals. 9 versus 10 is going to be a hit. 19 will stand. Ace 8 versus dealer 10. So you can see the ace 8 is just going to be standing here. The ace 8 only doubles against the dealer 6. So we'll keep our 19. Okay, next hand, 19 versus 7. Again, hard 17 or above is a stand. Next hand, 17, hard 17. Again, it's a stand. Next hand, so this can go pretty fast. 11 versus 9, double. 11 always doubles. Next hand, 8 versus 10. Oh, dealer is blackjack, so we lose. 12 versus 4. Go back to the hard totals. It's going to be a stand. 12 versus 4 is a stand. Okay, next hand. 5 versus 6. So it's a low hand versus a low hand. We're going to hit here. 14 versus 6. Back to the hard totals. It's going to be a stand. We like it when the dealer has a 6. The dealer is going to bust a lot. Hopefully it's the case this time. It is not. Next hand, click counter, ace, ace. So we're finally on the pair splitting chart. So if we have a pair of aces, it's a split. Aces always split. And when we split with aces, we get one card and one card only. But if we had something like 3-3 and split, we can hit, we can double. We have options. Next hand, ace 7 versus 10. Look at the hard totals. Ace 7 versus 10 is a hit. 18 versus 10. So now the ace would count as 1 because we have this 10 here. 18 versus 10 is a stand. Hard 17 and above, stand. Next hand, 14 versus 7. Back to the hard totals. It's going to be a hit. We bust. Blackjack, we win. Next hand. 11 versus 10. 11 always doubles. Next hand. 7-7 versus 5. All right, so we get a split example here. 7-7 versus 5 is a split. So we move the click counter down 1 because we put up an additional wager. So now here we can see the highlight or the spotlight is on this hand. 17 versus 5, that's a stand. And we have 16 versus 5 is also a stand. If we were to have gotten a 4 here for 11, we're able to double after splitting, which is really nice when that happens. And we lose that one. Blackjack again. Next hand, another click counter. Blackjack again. Next hand, another click counter. 4-4 versus 4. So we can look up here. 4-4 does not split against the 4. So we have 8 versus 4 in the hard totals, which we know is a hit. 8 is always hitting. 13 versus 4. Look at the chart. It's going to be a stand. Okay. Almost finished. 6 versus 2 is going to be a hit. 16 versus 2. Look at the chart. It's a stand. Next hand. 19. Hard 19 stands. Next hand. 11 versus 10. 11 always doubles. Okay, next hand. 14 versus 2. Look at the chart. It's a stand. Next hand. 14 versus 10. Look at the chart. 14 versus 10 is a hit. We bust. Next hand. 14 versus ace. Dealer's blackjack. Hand is over. 16 versus 7. 16 versus 7's a hit. We bust. Next hand. Final hand. 18 versus 4. Hard 17 and above, stand. All right. And the dealer busts. So on our $250 initial deposit, we're now at $265. And as I mentioned before, we have a bonus. So I'm going to go try and find that screen here. It's showing 255 shared winnings. So that shows that we've played through. This was the get a $10 bonus betting 200 or more casino games, which we did. And it's showing that we have $10 in deposits here. So it converted from bonuses to deposits. So we still have to play through this $10 before we withdraw. So let's go back here to Blackjack, go to the multi-hand Blackjack surrender, put this up here, start to resize for you. We could put the counter at 2. We have $10. We're going to do $5 a hand. 1, 2, hopefully it loads. Maybe it's a little bit slow with the screen recording software. I'm not really sure. So we'll go back to the chip selector, play a $5 hand. Deal. We have 12 versus 10. That's going to be a hit. 17 stands. And, we missed the counter, but we just did 2. 10 versus 2. So even though we've played through the $10 funds, it's still in our advantage to double. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're wagering a little bit extra, but we want to take advantage of the opportunity to double because it's a better play than just hitting here, even though it's bonus funds. So this session, we ran okay. We started with $250. We had a $10 bonus, and we ended up with $280. Of course, this isn't guaranteed. This is gambling after all. There are ups and downs. But over the long run, we're going to reach expectation, and life is going to be good. After playing many of these cards, after going through a lot of play, I'm doing really well. I'm even ahead of expectation with some bonuses putting me over, and definitely on the acquisition side with the credit card rewards, the rebates, the cashback, the points, the miles, the statuses, and much more. It's been super worth it. It's been a fun journey. It's been nice to liquidate gift cards from home and not have to deal with a lot of the traditional methods that have been a little bit more difficult. So thank you for your time today. This has been the Hurdy Gurdy Travel Podcast, Blackjack Basic Strategy on FanDuel Pennsylvania. There'll be a lot more to come, so stay tuned for videos like this and other traditional podcast episodes.